नहमदु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम अम्मा बाद फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वाहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा अल्लाहुम्मा फ़क़्हिना फ़िद्दीन अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी अस्अलुका इल्मन नाफ़िअ व अमलन मुतक़ब्बला व रिज़्क़न तय्यबा अल्लाहुम्मा अन्फ़अना बिमा अल्लमतना वअल्लिमना मा यनफ़अुना व ज़िदना इल्मा अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी अऊज़ु बिका मिन इल्मिन ला यनफ़अु व मिन क़ल्बिन ला यख़शअउ व मिन नफ़्सिन ला तशबअु व मिन दअवतिन ला युस्तजाबु लहा. So today inshallah we'll be doing ayat number 6 and 7 of Surah Al-Baqarah, and this is category number 2. This is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the characteristics of people who do not believe in Islam. And just a reminder that when we started Surah Al-Baqarah, the first ayat was disjointed letters, Alif Lam Mim, and ayat number 2 was introduction to Quran, that it is the guidance for the muttaqeen. And then ayat number 3, 4 and 5 were related to the characteristics of the pious Muslims, the righteous ones. And then today ayat number 6 and 7 is category number 2, the non-Muslims or the disbelievers. And in the next session we'll be doing the third category from ayat number 8 to 16, which is related to the hypocrites. And I'll be telling you the parallel of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the symptoms or the characteristics of the pious people. And then in ayat number 5 we studied their reward in this dunya and also the reward in the akhirah. In the same way, the non-Muslims would also have their punishment for this dunya and there will be punishment for the akhirah. So there's just 2 ayahs, but inshallah it tells us a lot about non-Muslims. Let me just do light translation so you get an idea of what we will be studying about, and then we'll go into word analysis after that. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Innal lazina, indeed those who kafaru, disbelieved, sawa'un, it is same, alayhim, upon them, a anzartahum, whether you warn them, or lam, not, tunzirhum, you warn them. That is, like those who disbelieve, it is the same for them whether you warn them or you don't warn them. La yu'minun, they will not believe. Whatever you do, they are not going to believe. Ayat number 7, khatamallahu, sealed, Allah has sealed, ala, upon, qulubihim, their hearts, wa, and ala sam'ihim, upon their hearing, wa, and ala absarihim, upon their vision or eyesight, ghishawa, there is a veil. Ghishawa is a veil or a curtain. Wa, and lahum, for them, azabun, there is punishment, azim, great. Now we'll go a little bit in the word analysis. Inna, it's going to be always indeed. Allazina, those who. Kafaru. Kafaru comes from the root word kaf, fa, ra, which literally means to hide something. Even the farmer in some of the Arabic dialects are called kafir because they hide the seeds. They sow the seeds in the earth. And the night time is also sometimes called kafir because it covers the earth, or it feels like there's a dark blanket at night. And in terms of Islam, kafir means to hide the truth. So you know the truth, you get the truth, but you hide it. You throw it away. You don't care about it. Sawa'un, the root is seen, waw, ya. It means equality, equal, okay? Alayhim is made of 2 words, alahim, upon them. A anzartahum, nun zalra, whether you warn them, or lam, don't, tunzirhum, same root, nun zalra, whether you warn them, whether you don't warn them. La, not, yu'minun comes from the root hamza mim nun, amad, they are not going to believe. Khatam is just like you might have heard Khatamun Nabiyyin, That was the title of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the seal of prophets. He was the end of prophets. So khatam is like putting a seal, just like an envelope or something. So sealed, Allah, Allah ala kulubihim, upon their hearts. Kulubihim is the plural of qalb, and the root is qaf lamba, which means heart. Wa ala, and upon sam'ihim, the root is seen mim ain, which means hearing. Wa, and ala, upon absarihim, the root is ba swadra, which means eyes or seeing. Ghishawa comes from the root ghain shin ya, which means a veil. Also, the word ghashi to show somebody who is dizzy or somebody who's drunk or drugged. Okay, wa, and lahum, for them there is azab azim. Azim, the root is ain zoa mim, which also means bones. The reason why it's called big or huge is because the bones is the biggest organ in the body. Now, in these two ayats, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that people who do not believe, they will not believe regardless of what you do, how much you warn them, or whatever you do. To some people, it sounds unfair that Allah has sealed their hearts and their hearing. Of course, we all understand that it's not that they actually go deaf. It's what it means is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes away their ability, their capacity to absorb the message when the message of deen is given to them. They are not ready to they open their heart, just like when we studied the dua, Rabbi Shrah li. So they don't open their heart to Islam. And this is talking about not generally all the non-Muslim. It's a very specific kind of kufr where people they just want to reject Islam. They just want to reject the message out of anger or pride or stubbornness, and they are not ready to accept or listen to anyone who is telling them because they're too arrogant. There are different types of kufr that I will be just explaining to you. But what I wanted to explain before is that sometimes we think that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closes their heart, that is why they are not able to become Muslims ever. It is not the case. The thing is that know that there are two types of hidayah. There are two types of guidance. There is guidance that is hidayah arshad, meaning something when it is instructed, that guidance which is instructed, and the guidance of tawfiqi, guidance that is accepted. So some people, they are not they have an attitude problem. Just like a teacher, you can imagine that when the academic year starts, she is ready to teach everyone, she's excited to help everyone, but soon she finds out, she can tell after years and years of experience, she can tell who are the students who have an attitude problem, and there are other students who are hardworking. Sometimes there are students who care. Sometimes there are students who are not so smart, but they are really hardworking, and they are respectful as well. So eventually, after trying to work with every student, the teacher will reach a point where she will see that, okay, there's these students who are, even though they are smart, they are just really disrespectful. They don't care about their grades. Whether you talk to them nicely, or you're kind to them, or you're strict to them, whether you try to call their parents, anything you've tried is not working with them. So now if you read this ayat in this light, you will see how a teacher feels that she'd rather spend her energy helping those students who are not so smart, but they're really hardworking, and they care about their work. They care about getting good grades. They care about understanding, learning, right? So of course, even in this dunya, the teacher cannot openly do that, but in her heart she would know that there are these different kinds of students in the class. In the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is like the start of the Quran, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us all different types of people that we will come across. And of course, we are not given the permission to point out to people and say that, okay, this is the kind of person who's never going to take the message of Islam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to understand what different kinds of people you will come across. And there will be different kinds of kafir or non-Muslims or disbelievers who will not care whatever kind of warning, whatever kind of miracles, whatever kind of ayat you bring in front of them. They are not ready to open their heart. They're not ready to accept the guidance that is given to them. They're not ready to hear. And that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that because of their attitude, this is what they deserve. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats them. And this actually becomes their punishment in the world. Now, keep in mind that when we were studying about the righteous Muslims in ayat 3, 4, and 5, we also studied about the rewards of those people in this dunya. What was the reward of those people in this dunya? It was the guidance, because they asked for guidance. So Allah gave them guidance. And the reward in the akhirah is muflihun, that they are the successful people. For the disbelievers, the punishment in this world is that their heart will be sealed, their hearing will be sealed, and there will be a veil in front of their eyes. And their punishment in the akhirah is azabun azim, great punishment. So why there is a mention of the seal on the heart and the ears, and why is there a veil in front of eyes? There's no concrete answer, but there's theory that the heart and ear does not have like a cover, just like eyes have eyelids, right? So one theory is that, okay, there's a cover in front of eye, so that's why it is said that their eyes have a veil, their eyesight will have a veil in front of it, as if everything will be blurry. Another theory is also that when we are not in a mood, you have to imagine from the point of view of a stubborn disbeliever, and even if he's like attending something and his heart is completely closed, he's not able to absorb whatever is happening around him, he's not even able to grasp or hear properly because he's so preoccupied. And then from his eyes, he's looking people coming and people trying to, be enthusiastic about Islam and stuff. It's just all blurry. It's as if he's like in some kind of haze and he's seeing how people are excited about Islam. So that could be it. Now, going back to ayat number 6, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Inna lazina. So there are people who do kufr. So there are many kinds of kufr. However, sometimes we just think that kufr is only like, either Muslims and non-Muslim. It's not just black and white, and which is also very scary because there could be some types of kufr that we might fall in that category. So just for the sake of knowledge, you're not expected to memorize all this, but just for the sake of knowledge, I want to explain to you, there are 5 types of kufr. If you see more types, do not get worried because they will be overlapping, and these 5 types might have some subcategories within that. Okay, so there is kufr al-inkar, meaning the kufr of a rejection. You reject it outright. You don't want to, your heart does not agree and your tongue does not want to admit. Then there is kufr al-inad, which also means a kufr out of stubbornness, or one part of it is also kufr al-akbar, which means out of pride or arrogance. You are too arrogant to believe. I will also try to give you examples of each. And then there is kufr al-nifaq, kufr out of hypocrisy. Your heart doesn't believe, but you want to stay among the Muslims and you want to listen to what they are saying and spy on their plans and stuff. So that is kufr of hypocrisy. And then there is kufr of millat, meaning the kufr of a nation, in which you're a Muslim, but you do not believe in some kind of very national point of the religion. Meaning, for example, if you are a Muslim, but you say, I don't believe in burying a dead, I believe in cremating. Or you can say, if somebody says that I do not believe in the inheritance, I'm a good Muslim, but I think that people should be allowed to give everything to one child if they wanted to. And then there is the fifth type is kufr al-amal, kufr of the action, kufr of the deeds. So you could say, if somebody says that, okay, I live in West, so I have to drink because of the weather over there and because of the office I work in, I cannot say no and stuff. So there are some amal which are like you've forgotten about it. You've forgotten that you have it is linked to Islam. I did not give you the examples of the kufr of rejection, kufr al-inkar, meaning, for example, if somebody tells you that, okay, you have to cover yourself modestly in Islam, then you say, no, I can pray salah and I can do everything, but please don't ask me to wear a hijab. And kufr al-inad, where a person is too stubborn, could be where somebody would argue and they would say, okay, if I'm so good to my parents and I'm doing I give charity and everything, then why does Allah have to force the women to cover, and why are the men are okay not to cover and stuff? So that is like being stubborn. Another example of stubbornness is also when Abu Jahl, one of the biggest enemy of Islam, he was so proud that he told his soldiers that if I die while fighting against Islam, in those times there was a tradition that, sometimes the leader's head would be taken to show to the kings. So he said, if my head is requested, then try to cut my head from the lower part of the neck so it looks longer and bigger. So there is like how people can go because of their pride and arrogance in kufr so much that they're not even ready to think about what they're saying and how far they're going in their kufr. You might hear other kinds of kufr like kufr of shak, kufr of kibr, and kufr of substitute, meaning where somebody tries to substitute, like saying that, okay, it is not necessary to eat halal because there is no halal KFC in US, then I could eat anywhere. So you can just substitute the haram and halal according to your wishes. So another kufr is the kufr of mockery, where a person who just makes fun of the deen, even this could be a Muslim or a non-Muslim, somebody who's so-called Muslim but makes fun of either hijab or the beard, or people who go to mosques a lot, or somebody, or wearing the abaya. So any commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that people make fun of could be a part of the kufr of mockery. I think I gave you the example of kufr of deeds or kufr of action as something related to drinking alcohol, which could also be part of the haram and halal substitute. But another example of kufr of deed could be that somebody who does not pray salah anymore and they don't think about it even. Like, there's a person A who does not pray salah, but he often thinks about it and sometimes tries to pray, or at least feels guilty about it, or at least has some kind of feeling. And another person B who does not pray salah, and then it's as if it's not part of his life. He's conservative and also like decent person, and he's nice to his relatives and family and everything, but it's as if salah is just not part of his life at all, and he's living a very comfortable life, not praying salah for no reason. So that is also kufr al-amal, meaning just like as if one of the amal has completely hidden. He has just thrown it away and he's going on with his religion without that amal at all. Then you might see some of the other types of kufr, which could be under the umbrella of one of the categories that I've already explained to you. And sometimes the same example could be in both the categories also. So this is to explain to us that some of the actions that we also sometimes do, so kufr does not have to be, disbelieving does not have to be so black and white that only a completely non-Muslim is a non-Muslim and a Muslim is a Muslim. It could also be that a Muslim might fall in one of the categories of kufr. So it is important to at least have the knowledge to understand that we are not thinking that, okay, just by being a Muslim, everything is okay and we are not in trouble at all. We should keep praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah helps us look at all the things. Allah helps us differentiate the right and the wrong. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps us practice the religion properly. And there is a dua that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has everyone's heart in his hands. So he used to pray this dua, Ya muqallib al-qulub, sabbit qalbi ala dinik. O turner of the hearts, please turn my heart towards your deen. Also, there is another dua that I really like, which can help us differentiate between the right and the wrong, because we don't know when we are stepping in the boundary of wrong or kufr. So, dua is, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'a wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinaba. Oh Allah, show me the right as right and help me follow it, and show me the wrong as wrong and help me to avoid that. Inshallah. May Allah help us all.